Well, hey, good afternoon to you. We're down at the Niagara River. Actually, it's right where the Niagara River becomes the Lake of the Ozarks, because that's the lake right there, and then this is kind of running water up there. Very beautiful spot. Just love this spot. But we're doing a little fishing. I'm going to do a little fishing with some crankbait, and then we're going to be going through the book of Matthew, because the book of Matthew, it's the redemption of mankind. And it's so incredibly important that we understand it, that not just we understand some of it, but we understand every word of it. I mean, we just finished going through the genealogy of Jesus Christ, which took months. But for me, so many things were revealed in that, like who God is and how God does business through that. It was incredibly fascinating. And we're at this moment in time where Jesus is being born. And last episode, we talked about really that God is with us in that moment, and the angel of the Lord came to him and said, name him Yahshua. Just like the prophet said, name him Emmanuel. God is with us. Yahshua, God is redeeming us. He's not just going to be with us. He's with us in this moment. God is with us. So as we continue to dig through this, I'm going to do a little fishing. I got some crankbait. I didn't have so much luck last time, but I'm going to give it another try. We'll see how I do. I won't make you watch everything if I don't catch anything, but this is what God said to do. He said to hunt and fish and go through the book of Matthew. So I'm going to do a little fishing at first. I was really struggling with the fishing part because it was terribly distracting to try to fish and talk and read the Bible, and it was terribly distracting, I think, to people watching. So I'm just going to fish first. That's kind of how I do the hunting thing, is I hunt, and then at some point I just stop. So I'm going to fish a little more. I've been fishing a bit. I haven't gotten much of anything. The Niagara River, I don't know a lot about it, to be quite honest. Although now that I'm talking, I can see some fish swimming around right there. So I'm going to get to fishing, man. And then we're going to go through the book of Matthew, and we're going to talk about this moment in time when Jesus is born and so much Old Testament prophecy being fulfilled, and we're going to talk about that as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get going. No luck. Sorry. I honestly haven't fished the Niagara very much. I brought that up in another episode. It's actually the first time I've ever fished this today. It's the second time today. But any tips you might have, man, put them below. I wish I had live bait. I typically would prefer to fish with a worm, I think, in a river. The muddy banks over there look like they might have some catfish in them, possibly. I'd maybe try a kayak next time. We'll see how that goes. But anyhow, we're going to pick it up in Matthew, where last time we talked about what the angel was saying to him and telling him to name him. And we're just going to pick it up right there. Matthew 1, starting verse 24. Then Joseph, being aroused from sleep, did as the angel of the Lord commanded him, and took to him his wife, and did not know her till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Joshua. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to Jesus' birth than that. So we're going to kind of jump ahead because there's a lot of prophetic things taking place at his birth, and it's important we don't miss them. So we're going to go to Luke, where we get a more detailed account of his birth, and we're going to pick it up in chapter 2, starting verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world would be registered. This census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David. So when Jesus is being born, there's this census being called, and because of this census, that sentence alone has at least 4 prophetic things in it that were prophesied by prophets. So Joseph also went up from Galilee, that Jesus would come from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth. Jesus would be a Nazarene, and to the city of Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, and Jesus would come from Bethlehem, because he was of the house and the lineage of David, and Jesus was of the lineage of David. So, there's a ton going on here, so we're not just going to pass by this. So let's go back to where we see these prophecies being fulfilled, and then we'll come back and read that again. So we're going to go to Micah 5, starting verse 2. And you, Bethlehem, Ephrathah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. God is coming from Bethlehem, is what Micah just said. So let's keep going. We'll go to Isaiah 9, starting verse 1. Nevertheless, the gloom will not be upon her who is distressed, as when at first he lightly esteemed the land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, and afterwards more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan in Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, upon them a light has shined. Upon them a light has shined. Think about what we just read here. So let's go back to that moment in time in Luke. This census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and the lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was, while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Just really think about that for a second. Even if we jump ahead a little bit, which I don't, we're going to talk about this in the next episode, but when Herod the king heard of all this stuff because of the wise men, ultimately what was said to him was, so they said to him in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you shall come a ruler who shall shepherd my people Israel. So here, the king then tries to kill him because of this prophecy. People totally miss this. So there you go, man. I'm going to keep digging through this. Thanks for joining us through this book. Just an incredible journey. But man, so many prophetic things taking place in this moment.